What it do, Crispy Crew? So this video is gonna be probably a little short, who knows? But as of recent, there's been this little interview that came out where the CEO of Sony or PlayStation, I don't know if it's like the CEO of the branch of PlayStation or just the CEO of the company of Sony as a whole. Either way, they came out basically making in an interview saying, oh, I don't remember if it was the CEO. I don't know who it was. It was some representative. I just don't want to get my words wrong here. And then people are like, bro, you don't know what you're talking about, yada, yada, yada. So, basically what happened is that in that interview, they said something along the lines of, oh, PlayStation doesn't have enough IPs, PlayStation doesn't have enough like original IPs we can reuse and things of that nature. Which is ironic because first things first, they literally made an entire game with all of the IPs that they actually have access to. So it's not like, it's like he's literally just talking out of his ass. So I don't know where this is coming from, because let me give you guys just a little rundown of just some of the IPs that I just remember off the top of my head that popped up in that game of Astrobot. I think that's what the game's called. I plan on playing it soon, probably when it goes on sale. Probably gonna play it on stream. Joker from Persona 5, Aegis from Persona 3. I think like basically damn near like 4 Persona characters show up, because I think even Teddy from Persona 4 pops up in there, which is already like bro, you guys, y'all have stuff. Which for the Persona franchise, you guys are putting Atlas to work. So you know what? I'll give y'all some grace there. Bloodborne. We haven't had a sequel to Bloodborne in like ever. Infamous Second Son. I think it was called Infamous Second Son. You got Sly Cooper. You got Jack and Daxter. Those are just a few off the top of my head. So I can only imagine once you actually play the game how many more IPs there actually are to like, you know, actually like, you know, to use. I'm not saying you gotta bring back old franchises that the original creator just doesn't want to extend anymore, but to say that you have no IPs, it's kind of crazy. Especially since you made one of the greatest games to come out in recent time, Ghost of Tsushima. And on top of that, Sun Wukong just came out. You guys are making good shit. I don't know why you guys are like acting like that PlayStation doesn't have good games, bro. You guys are just not utilizing them. And that's why Nintendo is succeeding, because even though they have a lot of IPs that they're not using, at the very least, the IPs that they still are using, they're milking the fuck out of them. That's why they're making so much money. Like, take Nintendo, for example, right? Let's take the big three of Nintendo at this exact moment. Super Mario, Legend of Zelda, and Pokemon. People are saying it's falling out of the big three, but let's just, for the sake of conversation, let's just keep it there. Pokemon, even though their games have been worse than ever before, selling like nothing happened. Super Mario, they made Super Mario Bros. Wonder. That shit fucking banged. I haven't played it yet. I'm just going off of purely a sales perspective. That shit banged. Do I even have to say anything about Legend of Zelda? Like, yeah, they space out their games, but when they do drop, it's a fucking banger. You know what I'm saying? So that's just one example of just like that's just one example of how you can use your IPs as a company. I ain't saying you gotta have 17,000 IPs, but to say that you have none when you have a couple that you can milk, if you just stop focusing on ultra realistic 4K graphics with every little frame, you could do a lot more. Because the main problem is with a lot of PlayStation IPs is that the thing is, take God of War for example. Them niggas make fantastic games, but the problem is that they take so long to make. And not because of like, oh, we're adding so much content in the game, oh, we're making sure that the game mechanics are like the most fire thing to ever come out. It's purely because of a graphical standpoint. And unless you're like a live service game, they have the feeling in their head that it's like, if we don't focus on graphics, then our game won't do good, because they think that graphics mean everything. 9 times out of 10, all you will do is lose the people who don't actually play the games and get people who actually care about art style and art direction, which is actually an overwhelming majority of the PlayStation's fan base. So I just don't understand where that's coming from at all. I genuinely think this is the worst time to be a PlayStation fan since the PlayStation 3. It's probably even worse than the PlayStation 3, because the PlayStation 3 was already mad expensive, and it was like, what, $600, $700 just for the base platform, and it had only about 20 gigabytes that you could use for the actual, like, system. So that was doo-doo butter, especially for the type of games that were coming out during that time. Amazing games, horrible platform. That's why a lot of people switched to Xbox 360 during that generation. Or if they're anything like me, I only had Nintendo at the time, so I didn't get to suffer the big effects of it. And instead, when I got my PS4 and my own job later on, I ended up playing those PS3 games on the PS4. And I'm gonna tell you right now, they were fucking amazing. I don't think I've ever played, I can't think of too many bad PlayStation 3 games that I played. It was a great era for games, but it was a horrible era for the console itself, if that makes sense. PlayStation I think it's kind of similar to what Nintendo went through with the GameCube. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. And with the Wii U. The Wii U had banger games. The GameCube had banger games. The console was just shitty. And I say that like I didn't own the Wii U and I was happily playing my Super Mario 3D World, because that shit fucking banged too. But my problem is that it's these little things, these little increments, is when bad business starts to fuck with your overall, with your other developers that you're hiring to make the games for your console, if that makes sense. And then the PS5 Pro just got announced, which from my knowledge is like $700. $700, and I don't even know the specs on that hoe, but $700 for a PlayStation Pro, that shit better cure my cancer. I don't have cancer, I'm kidding. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus. But what you call it? I don't know. It's just these little things they're very weird, and they add up very quickly. So I'm just very confused on how this has become the standard for gaming and PlayStation. They don't really have any competition when it comes to AAA games. Nintendo literally outright said that they're sticking to AA games, and it's probably the best business decision they've ever made, because that means they can focus on the quality of gaming without having to hyper focus on graphics. And on top of that, the Nintendo Switch can't handle that anyway, so it doesn't even matter if they try to hyper focus on graphics. The Nintendo Switch can't handle it, and I'm pretty sure the successor to the Nintendo Switch probably isn't going to be able to handle it either. So it's just like, it's these things that you have to think about from a business standpoint. PlayStation is just getting lazy and just saying, they'll buy it anyway. And the worst part is that there's a lot of you niggas that will just buy it anyway. So it's just like, my general point is, I think that if you can't afford something, don't buy it. But 2, if you think it's bad business, don't buy it. And I think that a lot of PlayStation fans should abide to that second point, because then it will teach the company that we love so much that we need to make better decisions here. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. And then, I don't know, share the video with somebody who you know is going to buy the PlayStation 5 Pro. At this point, it's probably best to switch to PC gaming, because it seems like consoles are killing themselves right now, with the exception to Nintendo. PlayStation needs to step up. I'll catch y'all later.